Hey everybody, it's Jason from the Texas Gun Vault, and once again I'm coming to you with another range report. And today's range report is on a historically interesting and significant pistol, especially when it comes to the Cold War. This is a Bulgarian Circle 10 Makarov. Yeah, this was originally built as a military and police pistol. That's what the Circle 10 means. Made in Bulgaria, and for many years, in fact from 1951 till 1991 in the fall of the Soviet Union, it was the standard issue pistol for the Soviet Army. So you guys know I love firearms with military provenance and I love to collect, and so this gun is very interesting to me. But before I get into the things that I like and don't like, and there's going to be a lot on this one, I want to thank the people that always make these videos possible. First and foremost is the owner of this very interesting gun, and that is a local subscriber and personal friend. His name is Jack. Jack, thank you again for lending such awesome pistols for me to review. I want to thank my Patreons as always, because through their monthly donations and support, they help keep the lights on around here. You guys know I am a YouTube bad boy. Not every piece of content that I make is monetizable, and my Patreons go a long way in helping me keep all of this going. And as always, I want to thank my primary sponsor for every single range report who provides all of the ammunition, my good friend Mark from Brownworks. And yes, here we go again, me talking about the best grip company in the world, Brownworks. Brownworks is owned by a master craftsman. His name is Mark. I'm telling you, he makes some of the best grips in the world for a wide variety of firearms out of a wide variety of exotic woods and materials. He can put on custom logos and engravings. He is always coming out with new and innovative products, such as laser engraving PMags and AK-47 mags, as well as wood grips for guns like AR-15s. I know that I'm rolling in some footage of his best and finest work, and you guys can see he is just not making bland old grips. He customizes every set to you and your specifications. No two sets are alike. Everything is custom made. Everything is handmade. And Mark has some of the best customer service in the industry. So I am asking you, if you like to support channels like mine, you need to support companies like Brownworks. I couldn't do this without Mark's support, and if you go over there and support him, you're supporting me and all of the Second Amendment content creators here on YouTube, because people like Mark and Brownworks make all of this possible. So we cannot thank him enough for his support. So please go check out Brownworks. I will put a link in the description below and as a pinned comment, as well as a 10% coupon code. Go over there, see what he has to offer. If you don't find what you're looking for, please contact Mark. I guarantee you that he will hook you up with what you're looking for. And when you do, tell him the Texas Gun Vault sent you. All right, so let's talk about what this really cool and historically significant pistol is, the Makarov. This was the Soviet Union's standard issue pistol from 1951 to 1991. It replaced the Tokarev, and it is chambered in 9x18, not 9x19. And my understanding is that the Soviets did this because they didn't want captured ammunition to be used against them, or if the West captured these guns, they can't use 9x19 in them. So those two rounds are not compatible, but you're supposed to get very similar ballistics. So let's talk about the things that I like and don't like about this gun. Now, this is the first time I've ever handled one of these close up. So what do I like about it? Well, it is historically significant. It was the sidearm of the Soviet Army during the Cold War. Yeah, and so you guys know I love historically interesting firearms, and this was the pistol that was fielded by the United States enemy for many, many years. So it is kind of cool. And I guess if you're going to collect AKs, you kind of have to collect Tokarevs and Makarovs as well, just to kind of complete the collection. And unfortunately, that's about the only thing about this gun that I like, because everything else about this gun, from just handling it, I realize how obsolete this thing is. Now, I know there's a lot of people out there that love the Makarov because they just like Russian guns, and I totally get it. But this is just going to be my personal opinions here, so don't be upset with me. First and foremost is the size. When you hold a Beretta M9 or a Colt 1911, these are seriously big, full-size combat guns. You feel like you're carrying some big hardware. This is a relatively small gun. In fact, I think much of it was inspired by the Walther PPK and the PP. So this gun feels a lot smaller. It doesn't feel as comfortable in my hands. You also have some very small sights on this thing. I'm kind of used to that with 1911s, but it's too bad this thing doesn't have better sights because the sight radius is so short. It has a heel release, and this is not a very ergonomic heel release. So if you want to drop this magazine fast, you're not going to be able to. It is kind of hard to get that magazine out of there. You really got to kind of work at it. I'm also not a big fan of this trigger. And of course, let me safety check this firearm because I'm going to show you this on camera. Here is the single action pull. It's kind of mushy. You're not really sure where the wall is. You just kind of keep pulling and there it goes. And then we have the double action pull, which is super, super heavy. Yeah. You do have a manual safety here on the slide. So if you push it up, it goes in the safe. And if the hammer is cocked and you push it up, it drops the hammer. So it kind of works like a Beretta 92 in that way. So I know a lot of people that don't like that system aren't going to like this. And the last thing I'm not a big fan of is the sharp edges of this frame. It's not a very refined firearm. When you hold a Beretta 92, all the edges are beveled, they're curved. You feel like they designed this around the human hand. John Browning did a fantastic job in 1911 when it comes to the grip angle and everything on the firearm. However, with this, I kind of feel like they did the bare minimum. They never really thought, how is this thing going to fit in somebody's hand? You have sharp edges around the rear of the frame, and just holding it, especially with a modern grip that's higher on the frame, it kind of digs into your hand, or it digs into my hand, and I got some beefy hands. The edges on this just are sharp. Not that you're going to cut yourself, you just realize that not a lot of time went into the refining of this pistol, and so it doesn't feel very ergonomic and good in my hands. Now, I know some people are going to say, it's the most ergonomic pistol ever. I own 10 of them, and I buy them every time they come into the country, and that's perfectly fine. Please remember, this is just my personal opinion. But right now, this thing is digging into the web of my thumb. I don't like that at all. But as I said, I still think it's a cool pistol because it's historically significant. So that's what I like and don't like about this gun. I'm really excited to get it to the range and see how it shoots because it is direct blowback. And a lot of times direct blowbacks in smaller guns, especially in rounds like 9mm, or in this case 9x18, it's probably going to be a little bit on the snappy side. So let's get to the range. I'm going to set up the target at 7 yards and I'm going to load up one of these magazines with only 8 rounds. Yeah, that's pretty anemic compared to the guns that it went up against, like the 1911, chambered in 45, so you get a lot more knockdown power there, or the Beretta M9, which of course held 15 rounds. So only 8 rounds, that's kind of anemic. So let's just get this thing to the range. Let's see how it shoots. I'm going to shoot this thing single action first, just to see how it feels, to make sure this thing functions, and just to see how well I can shoot it. So let's see how I do. All right, and it works. Well, I didn't expect it not to, but it works. It's definitely a lot snappier than I was expecting. Once again, it is a direct blowback firearm with a pretty powerful cartridge. Normally you don't see 9mm direct blowback pistols unless you're talking about high points. So this recoil spring has to be pretty darn stout. There's no locking mechanism at all to slow down that action, so you have a lot of energy coming right back into your hand. And And as I thought, this trigger really does kind of suck. Single action is still better than double action, but it's not very good at all. But now I've discovered a huge problem with this because I have a pretty high grip on it. I'm actually getting slide bite. If I hold it normally up here, this slide is coming back and hitting my thumb. I can even show you the little mark from a couple of days ago. Maybe that's not going to come across on camera, but I can show you because I actually took a little bit of footage of this at the range. And as you can see, it gave me slide bite. So I'm going to have to hold this gun a little bit lower. And this is one of those things where I don't think they were thinking about the human hand and the ergonomics when designing this pistol. Modern handgun technique, you want to get that bore axis as low as possible. So I'm going to have to hold this kind of down on the frame. I don't have a lot of room down here already with my 3 fingers on this shorter frame, but it's just what I'm going to have to do. So it definitely bit me and makes it a little bit more uncomfortable. All right, so the next test I'm going to do is the double action test. Now, this is not a way that you would normally shoot this pistol by dropping the hammer each time with this safety. I just want to see how this double action trigger pull is. And I can tell you, it's pretty darn stout. So I don't know how this is going to translate to the group at the range, but let's see. So once again, 8 more rounds, double action only, and let's just see what happens to this group. And the group seems to be about the same at 7 yards, and I gotta tell you, this gun is not designed for long range shooting. This trigger, in my opinion, is horrible. When it comes to its competitors like the 1911 and the M9, well, they beat this gun hands down in the trigger department. And with these small sights, the short radius, you just can't shoot this thing far. But I'm going to try to. I'm going to double the distance on this target like always. I call this the accuracy portion, but it's not really me bench wrestling the gun. I'm just curious if I can shoot it at a further distance, and I'm going to go for the head on this IDPA target. And I got to tell you, I don't really have high hopes for this. This gun is hard to shoot. Now I'm holding it down on the frame. The sights are small. The trigger is terrible. But let's just see how I do and if I can get these shots on target at all. All right, so that wasn't very good at all, but I'm kind of happy with it considering how awkward this pistol is for me to shoot and how bad the trigger is. But I guess for the Soviets, it was perfectly fine. So now I want to give my wife Becky a shot at shooting this. I'm really curious what she's going to think. This is something really different. And of course, she's not the geeky gun guy that I am that loves the history of guns. So she might not appreciate this for what it is. But I'm going to get her insights. I know that sometimes these guns are found at gun shows for a pretty darn good price. And maybe a novice or new gun owner or a woman might look at this and go, oh, it's the perfect size for me. And it's at an affordable price point, I'll buy one and pick one up. So this might be some interesting thoughts and data that I can get from her. So let me load up another magazine and see what she thinks. And this might be the first gun here at the Texas Gun Vault where she said there's absolutely nothing about that gun that I like. It hurts to shoot. And I kind of agree with her. So someone that's not a gun dork like maybe you or I am is not going to appreciate this pistol, and it's not a very ergonomic pistol or fun pistol to shoot. The controls are kind of hard. Yeah, it's just not fun for her. And of course that translates into her not wanting to go shooting it. So it's not a gun that I would recommend to women shooters or novice shooters. All right, so the next test I'm going to do is my quick magazine change. However, I think this one's going to be kind of a joke. After all, these magazines are really hard to get in and out. It's not a gun that is designed for maybe anything else besides being a backup gun, I guess, in modern terms. But you're not going to drop this magazine pretty fast. You see, I even struggled with it right there. Get this gun back in action. But I'm going to do my very best, and we're going to compare this to the other guns that I have shot, which I thought were pretty fast. But this one, I think, is going to be kind of slow. So let's just see how I do. And we did have one failure to feed there, but the round eventually did go in the battery. And as compared to other guns that I've shot in the past, this is the absolute slowest quick magazine change I have ever done. Yeah, it takes me forever to get this thing out of there. And that tab at the back where that heel release is, it's kind of small. So if I was wearing gloves, which I think a lot of soldiers would be in the Soviet Union, that'd be hard to get out even more. So you're not going to change this magazine out fast. So you better hope 8 rounds is enough for the situation you are in. So what are my final thoughts on the Bulgarian-made Circle 10 Makarov, chambered in 9x18, the original chambering for this firearm? It should be noted that there are other Makarovs that are chambered in other calibers, and I do have one of those coming up for another range report. So stay tuned for that, and I'll probably compare and contrast it with this one, especially with how well it shoots. But my final thoughts on this gun are, I'm really surprised that more people don't talk about it. I know there's a lot of people that collect these guns because, as I said, they are Soviet-era guns. I see people do videos on them. I've seen my favorite content creators here on YouTube talk about them. But people don't talk about these guns like they do AK-47s. In the world of rifles, you have the AK versus the AR. But no one really talks about the Makarov versus the 1911 or the Makarov versus the M9, even though these two pistols went up against this gun for many, many years. So that tells me that even the people that love the Soviet era and Russian guns might not admire this pistol as they do other Soviet firearms. Does it work? Yeah, it works. And I think it's kind of a sign of what the Soviet Union was. This is an industrial gun design. These things were mass produced. It's really kind of indicative of the communist ideology. It's not designed to be comfortable. It's designed to be kind of a throwaway gun. Just like the AK-47, mass-produced, turned out as fast as possible. It's minimalist in its construction and its design. And I do have to say though, one advantage to this gun that I do like is the way that it does disassemble, even though this one is a little bit hard. It's just like the Walther PPK. So you would drop the trigger guard, then you pull the slide back up and off. And I will do a separate field strip video with this firearm, so stay tuned for that as well. So this is a gun that I kind of feel like was obsolete from the day it came out, especially considering the other guns that were fielded by militaries around the world. Everything from the Browning High Power, the 1911, yeah, all the guns of that era. This really feels inferior even to the Tokarev that it replaced. I really like shooting the Tokarev. I thought that was a much better gun. It definitely works, but it's not fun to shoot. It's not ergonomic. But I know it has historical intrigue, and that's why this gun, I think, is still relevant today to collectors. Now, I would not recommend this gun for concealed carry. I would not recommend this gun as a range toy. This gun is for collectors, people that love Soviet-era guns. But terrible trigger, not ergonomic, terrible sights. It just doesn't have anything going for it that I want. The only thing it has is that historical significance. So on my star system, how would I rate the Bulgarian Circle 10 Makarov? I know this is going to disappoint a lot of people. It's only going to get 2 out of 5 stars. Yeah, this thing hurt me. It's not fun to shoot. It's not getting 1 star because, as I said, I find it interesting. But beyond that, I really don't want one. If I owned one, I wouldn't want to shoot it. It would just go in my collection as my Soviet pistol from 1951 to 1991. That would be all it would be in my safe. It's not a very enjoyable gun for me to shoot. And I can't really recommend it to anybody as their first gun, somebody just looking for an affordable gun to take to the range. So that's my final thoughts on this very interesting pistol. Thank you, Jack, for letting me borrow it. So what do you guys think? I know there's a lot of people in my audience that love Soviet and Russian guns, and they're probably frantically typing on their keyboards right now telling me how wrong I am. And I can't wait to see what they have to say. So let me know what you think in the comment section below. And as always, thanks for watching.